The things that you mentioned, breathwork and meditation. Breathwork is a form of meditation. For people, there are some people that will come to me and go, I can't sit still. My mind wanders on, as if it's a bad thing. It's like mind wanders, that's stress leaving your body. There's nothing wrong with that. It should wander. Just bring it back to just train your brain to bring your awareness back to your breath, or whatever different kind of meditation you do. I have been trained in meditation, like different modalities. Like I did a Vipassana retreat, and I have been like one of those that did all kinds of different things. Breath work is for people that are active meditators, and you use the power of your breath to move the energy in your body that is not serving you, that to move the emotions, to move the thoughts that you are holding on to, and you activate your parasympathetic when you breathe for more than 7 minutes or longer. So there are two different kinds of breath work that I use. We use a whole bunch of different patterns, but there is an integrative breath work practice, which is 7 minutes or less, or 20-minute session, basically in.
Namaste, sweet souls. My name is Shilpa, and you are listening to the Omni Mindfulness Podcast. I am a mindset and meditation coach for professional women and mompreneurs. The purpose of this show is to offer stories and content that allows you to increase your awareness of your authentic self and be inspired by connecting to the personal and professional stories of other souls. Souls who are walking the walk and living everyday human experiences with inspired intentions. These are the stories that will expand your consciousness and spark within you to ask, what if? Each season, I offer content to help you create a holistic lifestyle that embodies spirituality, mindfulness, mindset, and energy awareness. Through my conversations with experts in their niche area and solo casts from yours truly, my intention is to help you holistically revitalize, reset, and relax your body, mind, and spirit. I'm your host and founder of Omni Mindfulness. So ask yourself, what if just one story could be the catalyst to shift the trajectory of my life? What if I become instrumental in serving other souls to realize their true self? And what if my soul's higher purpose is in the realization of Omni Mindfulness joy? It's never too late to rewrite your story. And now, today's episode. Welcome back, sweet souls. This is your host, Shilpa. I wanted to share some exciting news about a little challenge I'm running as I'm trying to get more people to discover this podcast and the conversations that inspire those who value personal growth. And the best way to do that is to leave reviews. You can leave a review on Spotify, Google Podcast, or Apple Podcast. So my request to you is to leave a review if you feel that you've received any value at all from these episodes of Omni Mindfulness. It would mean so much to me if you could write a little review regarding any episode that resonated with you. Please take a screenshot of that review and email it to me at omnimindfulness@gmail.com. In return, I will offer you my one-page guide to spark your meditation practice through Sankalpa. Sankalpa is a Sanskrit word for intention setting. Along with this, you'll receive a link to my guided meditation that will guide you through an intention setting meditation, positive affirmations, which you can practice daily. I guarantee that this gift will help you start a daily intention setting practice with a spark. It is my gift for you for being a listener, being a supporter, and of course, to enable you to manifest the best meditation practice. We are now in the season of reflections, which is my 4th podcast season, highlighting spirituality, mindfulness, energy awareness, and mindset. And next up, Gunjani Patel Oza. Gunjani is a certified breathwork meditation and alignment coach. She helps ambitious female entrepreneurs scale to consistent 6 figures by manifesting freedom and abundance. She had over 15 years of experience as a licensed mental health therapist, EMDR trauma specialist, specializing in depression, anxiety, grief, loss, addiction, and ADHD. She is also a certified trauma-informed breathwork and alignment coach, clinical hypnotherapist, certified Reiki practitioner, NLP practitioner, award-winning speaker, writer, and a podcast host of Traumatic Transformations. Through her own personal transformations and healing through PTSD and postpartum anxiety and scaling to multiple six-figure businesses, she now teaches women the tools and strategies they need to stop self-sabotaging and improve their relationships to wealth so they can move from scarcity mindset to abundance mindset. Her mission is to empower women to align with their truth, so that they can show up as the best version of themselves and awaken the freedom and peace within them. Who would we become if you showed up as an authentic self, manifested all the things we have the power within us to go create, had the most nurturing, loving, and most abundant relationship with wealth, and had fun along the way? And now, here is Gunjani. Hey, Gunjani, so nice to have you.
Thank you so much for having me here, Shilpa. Sorry if my voice is a little raspy, but I'm so excited to be here. I couldn't be more excited.
Oh, no worries. So we met at Holly's summit for those women that are seeking to soulfully speak from their souls, or something to that effect, right?
Yes, we did. I was so excited to, I know that you are a part of her world and you are one of the, light worker in her world and like a leader. And I guess because you were Indian unconsciously, I picked you and Barbara as one of my, so to speak, guidance in that experience. It was so exciting to have you as a support, because I normally am used to doing podcasts like this. I'm so used to speaking like this, but I guess I noticed this in business too, that when we start experiencing things that are new and different, that in Holly Summit it was like 1.5k people, so I got so nervous and almost didn't do my talk. So I was totally excited to meet you there, have you as a support, have you as a coach, as a mentor, and totally guide me through that, and just love now knowing you more and being friends with you.
Absolutely. I felt the same way. And you gave a brilliant talk. And I know that you have the tools in you to support the process. But even then, sometimes, even as coaches, we need to have maybe a light worker or a leader, somebody to coach and give us the positive affirmation saying, yeah, you're doing the right thing.
Right.
Now, today we're going to talk about breath work, though. And maybe you can share with the audience a little bit about your background and your specialty.
Sure. So I have been a licensed mental health therapist for 15 years of my life in the state of California and in the state of Florida. And I have been focusing in that world. My specialty was depression, anxiety, lots and lots of trauma, stress, grief, loss, and addiction. So I'm also an EMDR specialist. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. I'm an NLP practitioner, Reiki practitioner, all the things, right? And I really, even as a clinical hypnotherapist, one of my biggest things in life was trauma cannot be healed through talking about it. We almost re-traumatize people, so it was important to me to have so for 15 years of my life, I knew that I was bringing people into my world. And again, it was through attraction. I don't know how my private practice was always filled, and just I loved working with the clients that I worked with. But there came to be a time that I was trading time for money, and especially around 2020, when the whole world was in an upheaval, especially mental health epidemic. My practice was thriving, but I didn't feel right in terms of humanity. I had a waiting list of people, and people were looking for help with stress, help with anxiety, help with financial issues, and a lot of stuff. So, and I know that a lot of that cannot just be resolved by talking about it. Talking is great. Cognitive behavioral therapy and talk therapy, don't get me wrong, I'm not dishing it at all. But I feel like there are other treatment modalities that do the job quicker and that do the job less painfully, so to speak. So as 2020 was happening, I was in this place of, I just put it out there to the universe. I'm a big manifester and I believe in the idea of manifesting, that I wanted a tool that was, that I could help a lot more people, as in serve people in a group and do big group workshops and help them resolve whatever it is, like help this world to be a better place with stress and anxiety. And I used to have my own podcast, which is on pause right now because I'm trying to figure out my way in life. It was called Traumatic Transformations with Gunjani. And as I was interviewing one of my guests then, we were geeking out on stress and anxiety, parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, because I'm like a huge neuroscience nerd, being Indian, like science is in every part of my bone, every part of my being. And I was going through my own postpartum anxiety and, trauma stuff. And I knew that I needed a tool. I would normally go to an EMDR therapist, take care of it and, get it done. But I had recently just moved to California and I hadn't known anybody, and I don't just like going to someone just to go to someone. So I had all these limiting beliefs that didn't lead me to that. So as I was interviewing my guest, she was like, "Have you heard about breathwork?" And I was like, "I'm Indian. What do you mean? Have you heard about breathwork?" Yes. And it's like a big thing, right? I had completely shunned myself off of social media through my postpartum anxiety because it was very triggering. Everybody was looking perfect and I was not looking and feeling perfect, and that whole thing. So I started to come back online and started to get my podcast and started to interview guests. And she was like, "Why don't I send you to someone?" I was just hearing a lot about breathwork online. And I was like, okay, you know what? I need to give this a thought. So she introduced me to a woman who was training, because to me it was like I had specific needs, in manifesting. It's like they say you have to be very clear and specific about what you're asking. And what I was asking for was, it had to be trauma informed. It had to be, it couldn't, because I'd looked into other types of breath work, and I had, from what I had read, it was very like, it took people in too soon, too fast. And as a result, it almost caused certain people anxiety or trauma response, or, almost seizure or other things that didn't feel safe to their bodies. And I needed embodiment, and I also wanted something that was energy related, because energy, I almost wanted to get into energy medicine. So I was like, do I spend another $20,000 getting another certification, or do I, so let me just check this out. So she had introduced me to this woman. She was offering a free class because she was looking to graduate. And I was like, okay, so the program she introduced me to was trauma informed. It included music because, this whole sound healing thing. It included movement because of the importance of movement and energy in your body, and moving your trauma and stress out, because there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens when you move. And, she introduced me to that, and I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. So it was a 6-month program. I had never invested in myself, being Indian. I was like, oh, I don't need help. I can take care of this on my own. I don't need to pay someone to do it. That was my money story. And I was like, no, if I keep doing this, then I'm never going to expand. I need to invest in myself. And that program entailed that you have to do your own stuff in the first 3 months, and then you become a facilitator. And it was just like the most perfect thing that ever happened to me, because I had to heal my stuff that I had accumulated in the past 3-4 years of my life as a result of integrating my mother identity with the wife identity and with my single life, because it just happened so back to back real quick in my life. And it needed to be all, integrated, because it was all fragmented. And thus, I graduated. It's been a year now, and I think I've served like thousands of people at this point. So I'm super excited that I found the practice. It's working as I had intended and planned. And I am so excited. Like, my goal by next year is to breathe 100,000 women, because I know what it can do I know what it did for my body, and the transformation that I experienced from just knowing and conscious, like 5% of my brain to 95% of my subconscious, catching up with the stories that I want to tell myself, as opposed to the past stories and the fears that I was living out of. Sorry, that was a long, yeah.
I was going to say, I so deeply resonate with so many nuances of what you just expressed, particularly when you talked about the fragmentation. I had gone through probably my own fragmentation
Yeah,
and not even been aware. Yet, earlier you and I were talking about intuitively we're drawn to the right things.
yeah,
And when we are ready and open to it, and I'm sure that the breath work, you were intuitively ready for that, um, I would say the form of medicine that it is and the
100%.
value that it provides.
Yes,
A little curiosity though. So, and I've mentioned this too in the past. Um, Being Indian, often we have this preconceived
I did.
path,
I
path,
did.
you know, preconceived path on
Totally
what
gonna
our
call
life
me
will
out on this.
exactly, and like what our life needs to be like. Oh, an engineer or a doctor.
Yeah,
But often when it comes to the head stuff,
yeah.
I I haven't seen as many of my fellow Indians go down that path. What led you towards the trauma path?
So I had gone through my own personal trauma as an adolescent, sexual personal trauma, and I had healed it with EMDR after I went through a divorce and I was becoming a therapist. And thus, my therapist, with the help of EMDR, did the world of service to me. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be here sitting and talking to you about this right now. you know so I was basically, I went the EMDR route because I, in Indian world, like before me and my family, we didn't know anything about mental health, right? We didn't talk about mental health. It was not something that we did in our family. If we have a whole family worth of engineers and women being doctors, I was meant to become a doctor. There's a whole story as to why I didn't become a doctor. That was so traumatizing. Didn't get help for it. I had ADHD, didn't get help for it, didn't get treated for it. Like a whole bunch of stuff was happening, right? And I was traumatized by a lot of my adolescence. And I wish that it was different. And I wish it was recognized. I wish I was treated. Wish I was, there was something done about it. So I was I did my bachelor's in nutrition science because I still wanted to be in a hospital and serve people, because I was raised with, you have to be a doctor, you have to be a doctor, otherwise I'm a loser, that kind of thing. And I then became a dietetics specialist, and then it didn't do anything for me because I was like, it's too easy. It just feels so redundant and repetitive. And so I went into the whole therapy world, and the therapy world, because it's like I would see my mother go to a dietitian. She would do great when she went there, and then she would be back to her eating habits. So I wanted to study people and why their behaviors the way they were, why they made the choices that they were, and that led me into, if I'm going to, like, my program was I went to University of North Dakota, and it was very social justice and multicultural heavy. So they were like, if you're going to become a therapist, you need therapy. And I'm like, what do you mean? There's nothing wrong with me. Like, I was in so much survival mode, but there was nothing wrong with me, And as a result, I was like, okay, fine, I'll go. Because her thing was, you need to go to therapy, lay on that couch, and know what it feels like to have people sit on that couch with you and what it's like. And I was like, nothing is wrong with me, but I'll go. So I did. And as a result, it just opened my world to so much healing, so much awakening, that it was just beyond me. And as a result, I was like, now that I am in this place, I had promised my therapist that I would pay it forward and serve thousands of people to do that. And I have, but there came a time where what I was doing, I wanted to serve a lot more people, and mental health, there's still so much stigma associated with it, so people don't seek mental health. And thus I'm like, people do breath work, people do meditation, they don't go to therapy necessarily, but they will seek these services if they're not mental health related.
I absolutely see that happening in terms of the stigma, and having experienced my own trauma and not having the words to articulate that, oh, this thing that happened, whatever those things are, that happened, that is trauma. So, and I'm not saying that everyone goes through trauma.
Actually, everyone does. There's really? big T trauma and there's small T trauma. So big T trauma is things like death of a loved ones, or natural disaster, or murder, or car accidents and stuff like that. sexual trauma. There's multi-trauma where as kids, we have certain requirements. We have certain, we need validation. We need safety. We need our nervous system, our reptilian brain, our parasympathetic nervous system needs to be very heavy in the first 6 years of life. If that wasn't happening in the first 6 years of life, and then our brain goes through major remodeling again in the teenage years. So in that time also, we need support, we need help, we need guidance, we need direction. If we don't get those in those years, that's trauma. And people are in denial that it's trauma. It is not, it's small t trauma, but it's still trauma.
I then have a formula for my life. I've had multiple T plus T's, mini T's, and some big T's through my life.
There's nothing wrong with that. It can be treated. That's the best part about it. There are some modalities that I treat people where they remember the memory as if it existed. Like, oh, like I'm going to a grocery, like now I can talk about my trauma and not be triggered by it, not be hyper aroused, not be anything about it, but it's something that happened for me, and now I am who I am because of it. So you can get to a place where if you have experienced trauma, you can, with modalities like breathwork, with modalities like EMDR, brain spotting, hypnotherapy, meditation, all of those things, you can absolutely treat it. You can absolutely treat it and not live the rest of your life suffering it. I truly believe that pain is inevitable in the human plane, in the 3D plane, but suffering is the choice we make. If we get stuck in that pain and don't know how to move through it, then we suffer, and we don't have to.
That was probably why I went down the path of becoming a meditation coach. Is I got to the point where I was like, enough. I've had enough. And I want to thrive. And I know that on a spiritual level, that being abundantly full of energy and being abundantly full of love is my divine right.
Yes.
And so I absolutely agree. And there are so many modalities, but the fact that you have honed in on one of the many being meditation, or in your case, you're more breath work, that's absolutely something that I believe every human should be trained. And I genuinely believe, after I was telling you, I listened to that, I went to the Energy Summit for a week. All of us were saying the same thing in the summit, that this is only the beginning of what are maybe 10, 20 years from now will be. Everyone like, okay, I just went with my breath coach and I feel much better. This is something that even in schools, hopefully they'll start teaching and integrating. I believe that hopefully this is something that will also manifest, is that this will then transform the future generations, so that energetically the level of trauma we all experience as a collective consciousness will change. The energy level will change.
Yes, I truly believe in that. No, more than so one of my big fields of interest is epigenetics and intergenerational trauma, obviously. So because in terms of depression, PTSD, anxiety, 40% of it is genetically, we are predisposed to it. Our parents didn't get tested, treated, or diagnosed, so we don't even think we have any of that, but most of us do. And as a result of that, and then 50% actually genetically predisposed. 40% is our perception of the event, so our parenting, right? As in, were you taught emotional intelligence skills? Were you taught meditation and mindfulness and breath work? Were you taught, even my 4-year-old, right now we have the worst case of flu, but he sees me meditating every morning. He sees me doing breath work every morning. Even when he cannot breathe out of his nose, he will literally have trained him, because he's only 4.5 at this point. I've trained him to literally just breathe through his nose, consciously breathe. I'm breathing in freedom, I'm breathing in niceness, I'm breathing in good, I don't want to be ill, and I'm breathing out all these yucky germs. And intentional breathing, because the modality that I'm taught in is a lot of intentional breath work. So it's you breathe in a mantra and you release everything consciously what is not serving you. So basically, it's if we train our future generations to do this, they will be trained to, yes, they inherit this stuff, but then they also get the tools, the skills, the strategies that we needed that we didn't have. And it's not because our parents meant to do us bad. It's just they didn't have the tools. So now with mobile in everyone's hand, we have information literally freely available to us so easily. Like your podcast is absolutely free. People can listen to this and gain so much from it. So if we were to work on ourselves and teach our future generation this, imagine what it would do for, our future generation. So absolutely, it makes sense that if we do better, we can teach our children better. They don't do what we say, they do what we do. So it's really important that we model to them. Like I do it in the hopes and an intention that one day he'll pick that up, and as a teenager he won't have a hard time because he will have the tools and the skills to work through his emotions. Emotions are energy in motion. You have to process your emotions. You have to release that energy that is not serving you. Otherwise, it gets stuck and it gets layered with each circumstance or a situation that happens that is not serving you. And you're holding on to all these years worth of energy that is not serving you. And then you expect life to be great. It can't be.
No. I sincerely believe that it is so beneficial when your children, like in your case, your child doing the breath work, see it. I had started the meditation coaching business about 3 years ago. Yeah. And I was still grieving. I had lost my mother and I was still working through those emotions. I think I'm still working through a lot. Sometimes I look at myself, I'm like, I have such a messy mind. But then like you were saying, a lot of people, almost every human has some combination of what they're working through.
So when you say messy mind, it's basically when we're disconnected to our body, because in the Western culture, we tend to be very disconnected with our body. We're all in our mind and in our head and not connected to our body. You being Indian, me being Indian, I sort of have like, oh my God, I should know this. And now I finally have embodied it. When we have all this held up lower vibes, which is fear, sadness, shame, despair, doubt, all this emotions held in our body that is not released, which is 95% of our subconscious, our mind tends to run amok. If we, like you notice after good meditation sessions, your mind is clear because you release all that was not yours. Yes. So if your mind is running the show, then your body is not at rest, is not in peace.
Mm-hmm. I am absolutely a firm believer that almost every human being should be taught at a young age to have structure and routine where your day starts off by breath work, by meditation, setting the intention. And I'm telling you, having now been disciplined in my practice, I've always done it because when you're Indian, like it's almost like second nature that we're raised with it. Yeah. But I truly believe that the combination of the Eastern and Western and now connecting the two has given me a new lens on these modalities that I may not have had. Like someone telling me, go do a mantra when I was a kid. Yeah. I would argue with my mother. Like, I know I believe you, but I need to understand it scientifically.
Same. And it's like now to me, one of the things with the whole Hindu culture and the philosophy for me that was a struggle was I don't want to just do stuff because I'm asked to do stuff. I want to do stuff because I understand it, because I love it, because it's doing something for me. And then I found all these tools here. So now I go back and understand it. So I create my own mantras and I create my own intentions and I do stuff every day based on that. And one of the things that you mentioned, breathwork and meditation. Breathwork is a form of meditation. There are some people that will come to me and go, I can't sit still. My mind wanders on as if it's a bad thing. It's like mind wanders, that's stress leaving your body. There's nothing wrong with that. It should wander. Just bring it back to just train your brain to bring your awareness back to your breath or whatever different kind of meditation you do. I have been trained in meditation, like different modalities. Like I did a Vipassana retreat and I have been like one of those that did all kinds of different things.
Hey, sweet souls. If you are seeking to start 2023 strong, then you are in for a treat. In 2023, I'm collaborating with the financial planner and author of Awaken Your Wealth, Julie Murphy, to host a 3-month online workshop aimed at professional working women or mompreneurs who seek to manifest financial freedom. Did you know that taking your manifestations to the next level is about integration of financial planning tools and mindfulness modalities that help you cultivate the skills to recognize what your current abundance mindset is and build your ability to receive. In 3 months, you can learn practical skills combined with powerful mindfulness tools to overcome your financial fears, eliminate anxiety, and take control of your financial life. Join us and learn to implement a practical plan to optimize your money and your life. Click on the link at the bottom of the show notes to get on the early sign-up list. Namaste.
Breath work is for people that are active meditators, and you use the power of your breath to move the energy in your body that is not serving you, that to move the emotions, to move the thoughts that you are holding on to, that, and you activate your parasympathetic when you breathe for more than 7 minutes or longer. So there are 2 different kinds of breath work that I use. We use a whole bunch of different patterns, but there is an integrative breath work practice, which is 7 minutes or less, or 20-minute session. Basically, in that time, you are switching your state. So if you're finding yourself in gloom or doom, or if you're finding yourself very tethered and anxious or hyper aroused, you literally have the power within you, with the power of your breath, to switch that state in 3 minutes with the power of your breath. Because you activate your vagus, you activate your parasympathetic. There's a whole bunch of scientific stuff that happens as a result physiologically. When you do that, you send oxygen to your brain, you breathe an intention. So you're telling your mind what to do instead of your mind telling you what to do. So you're doing a whole bunch of stuff with your breath. And then there's 40-minute sessions or 60-minute sessions that are transformative meditative sessions, breathwork meditative sessions. And in that, they're basically rewriting your old story. So like, one of my stories was work hard. Being Indian, it was like work hard. And I was like, I almost felt guilty if I didn't work all the time. And I'm like, no, like I want to make more money, serve more people in a less amount of time. I'm not going to work myself to death and then be completely miserable. I want work-life balance. So I had to rewrite that story, as in I want to work smart and work less. Because I had a 4-year-old, I had him much later in life. I wanted to be a present mother, but I still wanted to make money and had the lifestyle that we love. So in that session, we do like an intentional, we do like journaling, we do, write some of the stuff down. And then the meditative session includes some movement if you want. It's basically holding your body sovereign and letting it do and emote and transcend those emotions into what you want it to be versus what you're used to being and having, and the old patterns working and running amok. In those meditative sessions, literally, I see my clients, like I'm a breathwork coach, breathwork and alignment coach, and I focus on wealth. But in 60-minute sessions, I see women rewrite their beliefs, their stories, like thoughts repeated over and over become our beliefs, right? So if we keep telling ourselves the same thing over and over, that's our belief. And how do you change a belief? And that's why I think affirmations take much longer, because it's like you have to tell yourself, you have to be aware that you keep telling yourself. I used to do affirmations a lot in the beginning of my journey. And then I switched because I was like, wait, I want something to be deeper. I want something to be quicker. I want something to be, faster. So breath work helps you lower your conscious stressful responses to relaxation responses. And then me cueing you what you want to say, do.
What I really enjoyed about what you just expressed was that meditation and breathwork are the same, because I believe that, and I often forget that. But when I look at myself each morning, what I do, as I mentioned, I do Kriya Yoga.
Yeah. Yep.
And I have this routine down, and literally the first half is first I set the intention, do the next thing, which is essentially it's called going into the breathless state.
Yeah.
And so I practice that.
Uh-huh.
It's tied with a mantra.
Uh-huh.
And then for those who are new to it, I also do chanting of Om, which brings the vibrational level up the chakras.
Yeah.
Then I followed by my Kriya Yoga, which is a minimum of 12 minutes. And there's a whole research around why a minimum of a certain number of minutes allows you to bring the focus to the frontal area as opposed to the messy mind, as I was mentioning to you.
Yes.
That's wonderful. If there's one takeaway for the holidays, for those who are listening, how they could practice something in their daily lives when it comes to breathwork modality, perhaps you can share something.
Would you want me to work through like a quick breathwork session?
Yeah, if you are able to. I know you've got sore throat.
Normally I do this whole thing with the music and all the things, but basically it's just there's a breath pattern that we call like cleansing breath, which is in through your nose and exhale with your mouth, right? And then if you tend to run anxious a lot of times, you want to do a hold, which is, we call it a breath hold. So you're breathing in, you're emptying out completely, you're breathing in your intention. Since we are in this, and I am a big believer of gratefulness, because there's a whole bunch of research on gratefulness, not just on Thanksgiving, but grateful for your entire life, because gratefulness increases your immunity. It increases, it keeps you in a state of like, it's like energy of gratefulness is the energy of appreciation, which is equal to energy of freedom, I think. It's like freedom, because going back to my earlier point, it's like pain is inevitable in this human existence. Suffering is a choice we make. If we are suffering, we have the power, with the power of our breath, quickly to shift from a state of, oh, this is painful, this sucks, I hate this, I don't like this, to gratefulness. So breathing in what you want and breathing out what you don't want. So we start with breath pattern, which is cleansing breath. So you breathe in, I am grateful. Exhale. I am grateful. Exhale the pain, exhale the fear, exhale the doubt, exhale everything. And then let your body govern the pace, the cadence, the depth of the breath. It could be something as long as 5 breaths. It doesn't have to be an entire session. It just, in 5 minutes, in 5 breaths, notice how, and if your mind wanders, just notice yourself as this beautiful sky, and your thoughts are going by like clouds, and bring your awareness back to your breath, breathing in, gratefulness, releasing the entire stress of the day, and just being present to this moment. And if it feels good to your body, if it feels safe, breathing in, I am thankful to be alive. I am thankful to be here in my body. I'm thankful for my body. And just releasing everything else, all the stress, all the pain, all the things that are not serving you. And holding your breath there till as long as your body allows. Bringing your awareness all the way from your perineum, all the way to your brain. And exhaling. Doing 3 more cleansing breaths in through your nose. One more. Being present to this moment, feeling every single part of your body. Sending your breath to any part of your body that might be a little tensed, heavy, your heart closed off. Opening that up. And holding your breath there. And letting 50 trillion cells of your body marinate with this intention. holding till as long as your body allows, only releasing when your body says so. Holding a little longer if that feels safe. When you do that, your mind unhooks and you go into deeper states of relaxation. You can open your eyes when you're ready.
Very relaxing.
Right? As quickly as like 6 breaths.
Yes.
We choose to stay in pain. Unfortunately, we just don't know. And that's why. So it's like, if you're listening to this episode, I really hope that you research more into breathwork. You research more into how powerful breathwork can be to help you change from a state of stress, anxiety, fear to just complete bliss, peace, and joy. That's our natural state. That's what we were here to be. We were not here to be stressed, running amok, living in fear, living in stress all the time. I do this at least like 3-4 times a day. I do 2 meditation sessions a week, and I do 3-4 times just getting in my body, being present.
Yes.
I'll do it in front of my son and have him do it too if he's in for it, but I'll do it in front of him, because the more I do it, the more he learns to. And sometimes kids don't want to do it, but that's okay. We do stuff and eventually they catch on.
Essentially, it's bringing us to the presence, which is what I hear all the time, especially when I started becoming more familiar with the modality of mindfulness. I kept hearing, well, be more present. Like, how much more present can I be? Well, you can be really present with your breath.
100%.
And it's healing.
Very, 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 very. It's like our body heals in relaxation. It doesn't heal in stress.
Yes. Yes. And I over and over what I've heard and I work through for myself daily is that when you feel something, by the time you're feeling it, and if it's stuck in the body, not knowing consciously, that is where the disease,
State of disease. It's like we say in the mental health world, emotions that are, or emotions or trauma that is not healed results in physical ailment.
Mm-hmm.
So autoimmune conditions, lupus, my fibromyalgia, MS, a lot of autoimmune conditions are a result of trauma held in your body, pain held in your body. A lot of, we increase our risk to a lot of terminal illnesses because we have not released and processed the trauma in our system, because we have not processed the stress from our body. It's one thing to know about it. It's one thing to feel it and be it.
Absolutely. And the breath work is just...
It's an embodiment experience. It's an energetic experience. It's meditation. It's intentional. It's like literally everything all in one.
It is.
It is.
What a powerful modality. Well, Gunjani, I am so honored that you were able to work through your own healing and come through the other side and recognize the power of this modality.
Yes. I wanted to, I'm one of those people. It's like I have to do it before I go out there and preach it to the world, because I can't endorse something that I don't believe in or live by. So to me, it just changed my world upside down, and I will never go back to being who I used to be, and stay that way. I truly believe in being 1% better than I was yesterday, and this practice has changed my life in so many ways that it's just, I want to tell the whole world about it at this point. So I'm so excited to be able to speak to your audience, to speak to you, and just reach a few people that might have gotten something from this.
And for those who are completely excited about knowing that you can heal yourself through this, look at the show notes. You can see how to reach out to Gunjani, and she can help you heal.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate you, and it's my honor to be here.
Thank you. Have a really great Thanksgiving.
Oh, you too. I'm thankful for this collaboration and this friendship, and all the amazing beings that are watching and listening to this. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks again for tuning in. Check out the links in the description and please subscribe, follow, and share. And continue to practice Omni Mindfulness.